What are the different phases of prep? There can't surely only be, dieting down and being in a calorie deficit and trying to cut the body fats to get ready for stage. Of course not. So ideally, how we, kind of like look at a prep, we want to take you through all of the phases. Girls mistakenly look at, especially girls new to the industry or that hasn't been, obviously guided well, look at, obviously the last 3-4 months before stage, and then they jump onto a prep. And it's like, okay, well, let me just diet down and stand on stage, do a little posing. And those are generally the girls that don't do well, that just fill out the numbers on stage, because they just don't have the larger, vision when it comes to competing. Competing is a year-round sport, but there are different phases. You most certainly are not meant to be in a diet trying to lose weight the entire year. Okay. Ideally, what will happen is if you give yourself sufficient time, let's say, for example, you start your prep November, December, you know what I'm saying? Now, it all depends on how much body fat you need to lose. I mean, if you have to lose 20 kgs and you want to obviously compete in a few months, majority of your prep is going to be in a deficit. Doing it slow and steady is vital, but you don't give yourself an opportunity to have an improvement phase. I'm talking now the normal person that has, generally, let's say, for example, 5 to 10 kgs that they need to lose, at max during their cutting phase and has sufficient time. We would like to take you through, let's say, for example, you end your season now. Ideally, after you are stage condition lean, you want to obviously do a healthy reverse diet. Okay, anything from 4 weeks to 12 weeks is the duration, depending on your adherence and how your body responds. Where we raise your maintenance calories, where we decrease your activity level, where you put your body under less stress, balance out your hormones and your metabolism, and pretty much get you back to baseline, to a more sustainable lifestyle way of eating and training, etc. Okay, and that now can take from 1 to 3 months after your shows. Very important. Very few girls actually do this right. So many girls skip this, go straight into a binging episode, obviously for weeks and weeks, don't train, don't continue to be mindful, and they blow up and they pick up 10-15 kgs, and often they blame their coach or they blame prep for being obviously a destructive environment. But it is just understanding the journey and having the discipline to adhere to a reverse diet, which is difficult for most, and especially the girls that compete the first year or two struggle with it. But once you've been burnt and you learn your lesson and you get into it, you understand the importance of it. But essentially, that would be after you're competing this year, that would be that journey. Okay, then you would move into an improvement phase. Now, this is either where the novices start. If you've never competed before, this is where you will start your journey, and then that will be phase 2 now, obviously, from the girls that have just ended the show competing season. Okay, and then you will go into 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 8 if you obviously choosing to do one show a year, 8 months, and you focus on improvement. You raise your calories, you put yourself in a good calorie surplus, 200, 300, 400 depending on how your body responds, and you continue to train hard, to train heavy. You've got a nice social life, of course. You have great balance, you are eating, a variety of foods, super flexible. You obviously have a lot of leeway with regards to, your calories, because your calorie, goals are pretty high, but you keep it controlled. There's purpose behind it. It's not just, let me train and let me eat whatever. It's clean 80% of the time. 20% of those calories can obviously go towards fun food calories, but you're training with a purpose. To grow, to improve, to bring up your weaknesses, to obviously improve your structure, so that when the next obviously dieting down, cutting phase comes, you are prepared. When do you start your cut? You have to reverse engineer your journey. Okay, you have to obviously have a predicted stage weight. Your coach will help you with the predicted stage weight. It's generally anything between, let's say, for example, tiny, petite, small, short girls, anything from 45 to 55 kgs for the very, very short, small girls. Then anything from 55 to 65 kgs, generally speaking, for taller, more muscular girls. You have to kind of like be within those ranges, would be a predicted stage weight for you to stand on stage, let's say, for example, in a bikini lineup. Once again, don't hold me to those weights. Those are just examples, okay? Now you've got to look at where you are at your heaviest, at your peak of your improvement season. Do you only have 6 kgs to lose before stage? Do you have 10 kgs to lose before you hit your predicted stage weight? Do you have 15 plus kgs to lose? You've got to reverse engineer. When we do a cutting phase, we like to do a half a kg a week, 2 to 3 kgs on a monthly basis. That's the goal. Nothing more, but that is the goal, okay? Then we put 3 or 4 weeks in there for, obviously uncontrolled, circumstances. Let's say, for example, you've got to lose 10 kgs, okay? We give you a 20-week cutting phase prep, and we add an extra 4 weeks on top of that, just because sometimes life is life. It's not going to always be linear. You're going to have an emotional week. You're going to obviously go backwards for, obviously a day or two. You're going to have to go away on a family, emergency, or, obviously a business trip, or you have to attend a wedding for a weekend, and you're not going to be as consistent. We've got to make provision for just in case things don't go perfect, because no prep is perfect, okay? So essentially, we've got 10 kgs to lose, for example. We give yourself 20 to 24 weeks for that cutting phase, and then we look at when your show date is, we backtrack 24 weeks, and we start your cutting phase. Then you have goals for you to set on a daily, weekly basis, milestones that you need to hit, 2 to 3 kgs on a monthly basis. If you can consistently do that, you will be ready for your stage. So essentially, it will be an improvement phase, okay, an assessment, reverse engineer how many weeks we have to do a cut, do your cut, make some provision for a few extra weeks there, do your cutting phase. Obviously before stage, I would say from like 3 months out, it's another next level obviously phase. So I would say your cutting phase will be broken up into 2-3 different phases, depends on obviously intensity, and then you'll have a reverse dieting phase thereafter. You might have obviously deloads and diet breaks in between there, to prioritize your mental and emotional well-being, and your relationship with food and family members and all of those type of things. But essentially, that's what it would look like. And you would just repeat that cycle. Your calories will obviously increase during the more improvement phases. Your calories will gradually start dropping down. Your activity level will gradually start increasing as you need to drop down the body fat and obviously help the body respond, continually. So in a nutshell, that is pretty much what, your competition phases will look like. And we would like to walk that journey with you through all of it, not just rock up after not training for 6 months. Now you have, obviously 4 months before stage. Hey coach, let me stand on stage. I want to obviously diet. You put yourself in a tough situation to mentally and emotionally be, where you need to be, have a sustainable and healthy journey without obviously feeling the extra pressures. So we would obviously always ideally walk the journey with you from the beginning. But sometimes people don't have a good experience with other coaches, or they decide mid-year to obviously commit and stand on stage, and they're in a decent enough obviously starting position, and then we obviously start that journey from their cutting phase, or obviously wherever they are in their journey, and then help them step by step through it all. I hope that explains everything. Let me know what you think. God bless.